I'm going to show you real quick the basics of using MuseScore, just the very basics. And what MuseScore is it's a notation software, which basically means you can write music on your computer, and when you write it, you'll be able to hear it play back to you, which is kind of cool. It's very nice for modern musicians to be able to do that and to experiment with it and everything. So the first thing you're going to do is you're going to go to musescore.org, and when you go there, you should land on a page that looks like this. Create and play beautiful sheet music. Click on that free download button. I'm on a Mac, so it'll open up. It should default to whatever system that you're working on. And here's the deal. You shouldn't have to log in, create an account, or anything like that. It'll just save to your download folder. You'll open it up, and this is what you'll get right here. You'll get a nice screen once it's all opened up, and it will say Start Center. All right, it'll probably load up a blank default score, but here's basically what we're looking at. We can create a new score. Here's some old stuff that I have done, stuff you might have even seen in class, like that melodic identification vocal thing we did in a class. We got some listening examples, we got bass clef, etc. Over here on the right hand side, you can scroll through all these different options. Now, when you first, so you have example scores and whatever. When you first load it up, you may get lucky and have this getting started one-page interactive tutorial available. For some reason, I'm not able to get it, and if you are, that's awesome. But otherwise, you can go to you can go to this video tutorial series, which will be more in depth than what we're going to cover, all the way from the very beginnings to advanced stuff. If you happen to be a programmer, it's kind of cool too. This is a open source software, so you are able to make adjustments and plugins and stuff for it. But here's what we're going to do. We're going to create a new score. You can either click here and create a new score, or you can go up to File and go to New, and it will be the same thing, a new score wizard. And by the way, if you ever want to get back to that Start Center, you just go to File and click on Start Center, and there it will be. So we're going to create this new score. We're just going to call it Screencast. Add whatever you want. I'm the composer, and I feel fancy when I have a copyright, so I'm going to put 2020. As you go through this wizard, it's kind of like installing any software. You're just like getting it set up and unpacking it. What this wizard is doing, it's setting up your score for you. So treble clef, bass clef, grand staff. So if you remember from our classes already, treble clef are the higher notes, bass clef are the lower notes, and then you can have a grand staff which has both the bass clef and the treble clef put together. But as you get into it, you can start to see all these different things you can choose. You know, like a choir and a piano. Right, you can do different versions of that, an organ and a piano, barbershop, you know, anything. Then we get all the way down here, liturgical, unmetrical. So for you old school musicians out there, we got guitar plus tablature or just tabs. If you are interested in writing your own tabs out for songs, we got jazz, popular, we can have a rock band, and then of course orchestral, symphony, which will be a ton of instruments. So we're just going to choose the treble clef for right now, because that's all we want to start with, and it will populate it. We'll click on continue. Here we can pick our keys, which we haven't talked at all really about key signatures, but basically all this is doing is setting up our key signature, which is how many sharps or flats you're going to be playing throughout the whole piece. That's basically what it means. So if I click this blank one, which it's defaulted to, not this X necessarily, but this blank one, we're in the key of C major or A minor, which if you go to the piano and you start on C, which is the first white key to the left of all the black keys, and you go to the next C, you've played a C major scale. We can pick our time signatures. Remember, the top number is how many beats in a measure, and it's very nice. If you hover over it, it will tell you. The bottom one will be which type of beat rhythm value is getting that beat. So whole note, half note, quarter note, 8th note, 16th note. The most common ones are going to be 2, 4, and 8, and usually 4 and 8. C is common time, which is actually just 4, 4. And this other one, cut time, which is a C with a line in the middle of it, is 2, 2. So it's a different feel. You can add pickup measures, which we won't learn too much about, but I'm just going to do 4 measures. This is how many measures there are. And then tempo. So beats per minute is how fast a song is. So this will be 2 beats every second. Sounds good to me. Actually, we're going to move this down to 90 because that sounds more. And I can just type it in. Press enter and I'm done. So here's what I end up with. All that work I did, I got my name, I got copyright down here at the bottom. You can edit all this stuff if you need to just by double clicking it. I have my tempo, my 4/4, and my 4 measures. So I can zoom in. I usually do page width right here because I like to see it really big. But you can do whole page. You can do 2 pages if you start to get up to that level. You can go super far in. I don't know why. I guess if you're like doing really fine work, but page width is generally okay with me. And so there we go. The nice thing is you see this is tabbed, so you can have multiple scores open at one time. I can open another score, and let's see. Here's that vocal one we used live in class. And I can go back and forth. So if I'm using something to reference, I can click back and forth between 2 different scores. And so now this is great, but like how do I get notes in there? Right? Well, that's where this input comes into. So we have a bunch of tools up here. Here are all of these tools. You can even go over here to advanced, which I don't dabble too much in advanced. Just add some more notes. We don't need all that. We just want basic. Okay. So, to put a new note in, you see here I'm just selecting measures. I can drag the screen around. I can shift click. I can control click, I believe. No, I can't. I can shift click and select all these. But to put a new note in, well, here's what I suggest you do. Hover over all of these things up here. And you'll see it will tell you what type of note it is, but you're already going to know that because you're a rhythm experts, right? And it will give you in parentheses a number or a keystroke. And what that does is allows you to pick very quickly what you want to work with. And so you see if I press the number 4, which is an 8th note, a bunch of stuff happens. I have this highlights blue, this N highlighted blue, or this rest will highlight blue. And this N, what this N does is allows us to start putting notes in. You see my cursor now has changed to an 8th note, and it's blue, and I can drag it up and down. And it's nice, you will experience this when you download the software, but it kind of clicks into place. You know, I can move it up very quickly, but also if you go really slow, it will click into place. So if I unclick the N, that means I'm back to my mouse cursor. N is for note input, and then non-N, or not highlighted, is just being able to manipulate the score that you want it. But you can also do all this weird stuff. So if you ever find yourself like over here and you don't see that N, click that drop down and find that N, that note input. And so I can toggle that on and off with the note or with the letter N. See, I'm pressing N on my keyboard. You can't see that, but that's what's happening right now. So I'm ready to put some notes in. So say I want to put a quarter note in. I want to put a bunch of C's. So I'm going to put C. So you won't hear it now, and I don't hear it now, but when you're doing this at home, you'll be able to hear those notes play. The other cool thing is if you want to see the piano, you can press the word P, but I'm just going to search for it. There's P. Yep, I just pressed the letter P, and there it is down there at the bottom. So I can see exactly which note I'm playing, or I can put notes in as long as I have this N selected, I can start to put these notes in by clicking the keyboard, which is kind of cool, very convenient to be able to do that. If I'm done pressing notes or inputting notes, I'm going to press the N with my mouse or with the letter N. And so now, if I want to hear this play, wherever you see this blue highlight is where the playing will start. So up here, my play controls, I can press play or press space, and it will go through and it will start playing your song for you. Now, the other thing we can do, say I don't like any of this, I'm going to select all these measures and I'm going to press backspace, and it will get rid of all those measures or all those notes for me. And so I'm going to do something else now. Let's do something. I'm going to do eighth notes. 4. N. I'm going to do 4 eighth notes going up, and then I want to do a quarter note, rest. Now you'll see if I click this rest button up here, which is just this block of rests, I get different symbols. And so now I want to put a quarter note, not a rest. So all I did was just, I could either unselect that, or if it's selected, I can select a note and it will take the rest off. So let's do a quarter note all the way down to this E, I suppose. And so that's how you very quickly can start to put notes into this. It all has edit undo, so like, you know, stuff starts to get crazy for whatever reason. You know, you can always just undo stuff. You know, like if you start stacking notes on top of each other, because it will happen if you don't move your mouse far enough over to the next spot. It will start to stack notes. So I can just undo, or Control Z, or on a Mac, Command Z very quickly to get rid of all of that extra work that I just did. One more tip and trick I'm going to give you, well, 2 more. You can select notes by pressing the letter name that you want. So this last note that we played right here is a G. So say I want to go up to an A. Well, I can do this a bunch of ways. I can look at the piano down here, and I could say, here's my note. Now I'm going to add an A. Right, so wherever this blue box is highlighted at is where the note is going to go. I can find, so now I'm going to go up to a B. I know that this is an A. I can go up to the next line and click, and that's a B. Or if I'm going to a C now, I can just press the letter C. C, D, E, F, E. You know, so now I'm just using the keyboard to put in the note name that I want. So you have a bunch of different ways to input notes into this program, and it just takes a little bit of practice. If you choose to put a new note in here, so say I put this note, I want to put a G in at the very beginning, but I accidentally put it on the second space. Well, I can delete it, or I can go move the blue box back by pressing the left arrow and press the letter A. Or I can go back and highlight that note blue and use my up and down keys to find the right note that I want. I can go all the way up here like this. You know, so a fun way to work could be, say, like the example that we give you says you need 16 quarter notes, which is just 4 measures. All right, so you got the rhythm down. That's good, but none of the notes are right. It's going to sound boring. So you can go back through your instructions and say, okay, the first note should be an A. So you go to the first note, you press A. And it says the second note should be a D. I'll press a D. The third note should be a G. And so you see I pressed G and this note went all the way up to the wrong G. We want a second line G. So go back over to that note, and then you can either move it all the way down, which will be 12 ups or downs, by the way. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. That's why it's, you know, helpful to know that there are 12 intervals in an octave. You can also press Command or Control up and down, and that moves it up by an octave at a time. So you see there's just a lot of different ways to be able to put notes in. The very simplest is just to click and point. I want an eighth note, I want 4/8 notes starting at G and going up in the first measure. Well, just click on G and just click up. There you go. And that's pretty much how you use MuseScore. And then you can file, save, save as, save. You can export it as a PDF. You can print it as a PDF. And one more thing I want to show you too. This is a little bit more advanced, but say you want to add some dynamics. Remember, dynamics are how loud or how soft. Well, there's a special tool in here called palettes. So if you go to View, Palettes, or press F9, this menu will come up on the side. And here you will start to see all these drop downs, all these different options you have to start adding stuff. So here's all our clefs. So I could change the clef in the middle of this if I wanted to, I could change keys if I wanted to. Some of this stuff is more advanced. We're not interested in that. What we're interested in is like these articulations, text, and dynamics. So articulations, you can experiment with these. Let me come off the new note input, and I could select and just drag these notes or these articulations over on to notes. Likewise, I can select a note and I can just double click the articulation that I want. So here I want this to be long, and I want this next note to be fermata. And if you start to play this and you start to put these articulations on and you play it back, you'll start to hear all these cool things start to take place. So I could put a trill on here, which will go ba-da-ba-da-ba-da-ba. And finally, same thing with dynamics. You can put dynamics on here. So that's going to be super quiet. This is going to be loud. And somewhere in there, we're going to crescendo, which is just basically saying get louder. And you can adjust it and manipulate it, and it can get overwhelming very quickly. But the most important thing is to know is if you want to put a new note in, press N and press the note value you want and put it on the right pitch. If you want to rest, select the note value you want, quarter, and we'll make it a rest. Everything else is just icing on the cake. So I'm going to hide all this stuff so you can see. There you go. That's it. And there's your creation in just a couple of minutes.